There's a lot of people who I think feel like they're being left behind because we're in the middle of something else going on here. Nothing to do with Donald Trump. We're in the middle of what I'd call, other people call, the fourth industrial revolution. Is there going to be middle class where, you know, Moore's Law, the IT, the way we're walking, artificial intelligence? Look what's happened with all the retail jobs that got lost because of Amazon. Now people go to Amazon, and so all across the country, a couple 100,000 people lost their jobs. And people are worried. Truck drivers I talked to are saying, well, you know, they're going to automate trucking, I know, and I'm not going to have a job. I'm 52 years old. I'm making $80,000 a year, busting my neck. And so
what's the answer to that?
The answer is we've got to talk to them and tell them there's ways to do this. The way we can do this is, first of all, acknowledge. My dad also had an expression for real. He said, Joey, I don't expect the government to solve my problem, but I expect these to understand my problem. So you go out and you say, look, these changes we can mold like we've done every other major technological revolution, going all the way back to the cotton gin and the Luddites back in England in the early 1800s. And what we have to do, though, is we have to let them know there's things for example, we have to have continuing education. And I mean continuing education. That is when you're out of school and you've gone through high school and you've gone on a job and you end up finding out you're out of work. Well, there are 100,000 jobs out there in high-tech manufacturing that people can learn, but you need to be able to train people. So you have to be in a position where you team up with community colleges and corporations, and you teach people how to run a photovoltaic machine on the floor that makes, solar panels. People can do these things. They have to know. And they flip the other side of that. I'm getting too wonky.
This is the greatest economic and technological transformation in the history of the world that we are in the midst of right now. We are in the third inning, and the third inning has brought us Donald Trump. The first inning was the deregulation of financial services. The second inning was the demolition or the decimation of manufacturing jobs. The third inning, where we are right now, is the obsolescence of brick and mortar retail. The fourth inning will be autonomous cars and trucks. The fifth inning is artificial intelligence doing the job of lawyers and accountants and other white-collar jobs. This is the great challenge of our era, and unfortunately, Donald Trump is a symptom. He is not the cause, he is a symptom. And as the Democratic Party, it is up to us to offer real solutions to the problems that got Donald Trump elected. What we need is new ideas and a new economic vision, and that is why I'm running for president. So my vision has three big pillars. The first pillar Matt mentioned was the freedom dividend. Simply put, every American adult gets $1,000 a month, free and clear, no questions asked, to do whatever you want. Now, raise your hand if that seems far out or dramatic or too good to be true. And raise your hand on that. Oh, it's cool. I understand. I thought so too until I looked at our history. This is a deeply American idea that Thomas Paine was for at the founding of the country. Decades later, Martin Luther King was for it. 1,000 economists signed a letter saying this would be great for the economy and society, and it passed the House of Representatives twice in 1971 under Richard Nixon, of all people. It came this close to being law. And then it became law 11 years later in one state. There's one state where everyone in that state now gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year, no questions asked. And what state is that? And how do they pay for it? And what is the oil of the 21st century? Technology, that's right. In Alaska, they call it the oil check, and they love it. And we're going to call this the tech check, and you're going to love it. The tech check would put $16 billion a year into the hands of Iowans. It would create 40,000 jobs right here in Iowa, because we know where that money would go. We know that money would go to car repairs, food and tutoring for your kids, health care, home repairs you've been putting off, the occasional night out. That money would be spent right here in Iowa. And that's the only way you're going to get that value back, because right now there are these black holes just sucking that value out of your communities. We have to be honest. Why are your stores closing? There's a one-word answer for that. And what is that word? Amazon, that's right. Amazon's just sucking value out of your Main Street, and we're going to get it back. That's why I'm running for president. Now, the Democratic Party is the party of empowering women, and I'm going to suggest to you all that there's nothing more dramatic and powerful we could do to empower women than to put $1,000 a month in the hands of every adult. Because there are thousands of women here in Iowa that are in exploitative or abusive jobs or relationships because they lack the economic freedom to walk away. And we can change that. The freedom dividend is the most genuine thing we could do to give women control of their future and compensate and recognize women for the vital and unrecognized work they do every day in our communities. So this is the first big move, and if anyone tells you we can't afford it, our economy is up to $19 trillion, up $4 trillion in the last 10 years. We can easily afford a dividend of $1,000 a month. But we can't stop there. We have to move healthcare off the backs of American families and businesses. We have to move to single-payer Medicare for all. I've been a CEO, and I know it keeps you from hiring, it keeps you from expanding, it keeps you from changing jobs. It's insane that in the richest and most advanced country in the history of the world, when you get sick or injured, you are more worried about paying for your healthcare than getting well. That is immoral, and we can change it. And then the third thing, I like to ask a question. How many of you get excited about GDP when you wake up in the morning? Yeah, if you raise your hand, you're a better man than I am. So GDP is a measurement we made up almost 100 years ago that's going to go up and up even as more Americans get left behind. An example I use is that my wife is at home right now with our 2 young boys, one of whom is autistic. And what does GDP value her work at? Zero. What does the market value her work at? Nothing, zero. And we all know that's nonsense. We all know that she's contributing much more than the average hedge fund analyst or software programmer. So we need to create new measurements that actually show how we're doing. Instead of GDP, we should be measuring childhood education rates, average income, mental health and freedom from substance abuse, environmental sustainability, the proportion of our elderly who can retire in quality circumstances. If we change the measurements, we can change everything. So these are the 3 big ideas to get us through, again, the most challenging economic transition in the history of our country. The freedom dividend, Medicare for all, and the American scorecard, which is what I call this new version of GDP.